Thanksgiving. We are going to be doing a quick webinar to show you Mastermind this afternoon. And what I intend to do here is really follow up on this theme of turning on the lights in GoldMine. We know that having worked with lots of people with the GoldMine over the last 15 years, here at Mastermind, we have seen how people use GoldMine, and when I say lots, I should qualify that by saying thousands of companies that use GoldMine. We have worked with and looked at across the web, and what I'm going to do today is quickly introduce myself and then Mastermind for GoldMine. Talk a little bit with you about how you can be using GoldMine more effectively and more efficiently. And specifically in the context of understanding GoldMine and getting into the information. So why don't we just kind of dive right in there. So to introduce myself, I'm Rob Maklik. I'm the developer of Mastermind for GoldMine, which is a product for managing and reporting from GoldMine. And we've been in business since 1999. We introduced this product in the GoldMine market back then, and have worked with people using GoldMine in every version from all the way back from version 4.0 up to the current one. And there are some themes that run through that usage of GoldMine across the years that I'll talk about a little bit. Actually, before I even mention that, I do want to say we are recording this session. This will be made available to you afterwards, and you may use this recorded session to show Mastermind or show what you learned today to other users. You will get this as a link in an email afterwards. So back to those themes. So what I want to talk about today is the idea of GoldMine, how you work with GoldMine as a tool for managing sales, marketing, and really the company more broadly. I'll talk here a little bit to start with about what we're going to focus on today. So really, there's a number of ways that Mastermind as a company and Mastermind as a product interfaces with GoldMine, but really I want to focus today on simple reporting, getting information out of GoldMine and not essentially shooting in the dark, as our graphic here there showed you at the beginning. We'll talk a little bit about data management and data updating, which is a key focus. It's one of those really important themes that comes up a lot across the years of people using GoldMine. If you've got GoldMine and you don't have Mastermind, you don't have our marketing tools, then essentially oftentimes you might feel like you're flying blind. You're sort of working in the dark, and you don't have a good way of either turning that data that's in GoldMine into useful reporting information, useful information that you can use, to manage people or to manage your processes. And then secondly, you don't really have good means of manipulating the data itself. Basically, when you do reporting, one of the first things you find out is where are the gaps, what's wrong, where are we short, how is the information not organized in a way that's useful for me right now. And what Mastermind does is give you the ability not only to extract out that data as information, as simple tables or lists or whatever, or graphical presentations, but also to do something about it, to actually manipulate the GoldMine data to make it conform with the rules that it's supposed to conform with inside of your system, your way of doing business. And that's a really powerful combination. If your reports tell you both what's right and what's wrong, and you have the ability to change what's wrong and make it right, now you can really manage your GoldMine data better, or manage your GoldMine system and your business better. What I'm not going to emphasize too much today is some additional focuses and functions that you could handle by working with Mastermind with GoldMine, analysis and process control within GoldMine, doing sort of finished reports and sharing them around. I'm not going to talk about that very much today, but I will just sort of allude to them. And some very specific things about managing GoldMine, campaign management, which is one of the real focuses that a lot of companies that are very sales-oriented have, the sort of hands-on process of managing campaigns within GoldMine. I won't talk about that much. Or GoldMine administration. There's a lot, of course, that you need to do to have your GoldMine sort of humming along and everything being the way it should be. I won't go into that too much except to just sort of mention that you probably by inference could look at what I'm doing with the GoldMine data and see that as I show you a demo GoldMine system and talk about simple reporting and how easy it is to get into this information, you probably from that understand, yeah, I can see where that would also help me with GoldMine administration itself. The same principles will always apply. At the end, I will take questions if you've got them. So please, as you have questions as we go along here, either post them into the question dialog on the right-hand side of your screen in the GoToWebinar dialog, or just save them up for when we kind of open up the doors here and give you a chance to ask questions at the end. So either way, please put them in there. My trusty assistant, Carnegie, will keep an eye on those questions as they come in and make sure that we include them and maybe even interrupt me as necessary to make sure that those get answered in a timely fashion. So let's get down to what we're really after today, which is getting the information that you need out of GoldMine. As I said, I'm going to talk about this in the context mostly of sort of simple reporting, but bear in mind that all that other capability is available here. What information do you need from GoldMine? Well, really, to start with, in most cases when we get on to working with a customer, the first thing we find out is they don't really have a good idea of even what they have in GoldMine. I mean, you may think you do. You know you've got, I don't know, 15,000 records in your database, and many of those are customers. A lot of them are former customers. Some of them are prospects that are really live and hot, and others are prospects that have sort of gone by the wayside and just sort of are sitting there in the database as what a lot of people refer to as junk. But sorting through that and understanding what you actually have is a key starting point that really, if you don't know that, you can't build very much of anything else on top of it. And the tools, and one of the first things I will show you here with Mastermind is how to actually very quickly understand what is in a GoldMine database. Beyond that, the information that you need usually builds on what are your responsibilities within the organization. What are you as a company trying to accomplish, and you as a person or a department trying to accomplish, and what information would support that derived out of GoldMine. How are our leads assigned? Are they being followed up on a timely basis? Who's got how many prospects in their territory, and do those need to be shifted around? So that second one, lead assignment, that's a sort of a static, here's what we've got, again, in the database, specifically relating to sales. And then thirdly, are you tracking sales activity? Do you actually know what the sales team is doing on a day-to-day basis in terms of making calls, setting appointments, doing the follow-ups? Where are the leads that are not actually being followed up on? Of our greatest prospects, you can be very specific in asking your questions. Where are our greatest prospects or our best customers from previous years that have not purchased from us in some recent time frame, and how do those break out? These are the kinds of questions that you can ask from a sales perspective that really help you to get on top of your sales opportunities. Marketing, here we're talking about well, I mentioned results here, but there's just the whole marketing activity. Managing marketing activity through GoldMine can be done very efficiently and effectively, and part of that management also involves assessing results. How are we doing in terms of pulling leads from various different sources? Is that information reflected in GoldMine? It really ought to be. It probably even is, but are you turning that then into useful information that you can follow up on so that you can do more of what works, less of what doesn't work, and so on. Delivery of customer service, of course, is the other key reason people use GoldMine out there. Usually the two in the forefront are sales and marketing, but behind that, and oftentimes even with a larger office staff, is delivery of the actual service to the customers. And if you're tracking that information in GoldMine, as you probably should be, the reporting and analysis of that comes next, and obviously what's built into GoldMine doesn't allow you to do that very effectively. I won't go into these last ones except to say too much, except to say the quality of the information that's in your data has has everything to do with what you're able to achieve in GoldMine as well as what you're able to do reporting-wise. So if you've got errors, omissions, inaccuracies in the data, just due to the regular, the fact that you've got human beings working on your database, getting that information together so that you know where the holes are, and then having the tools to clean them up are, of course, crucial to, again, to the success of GoldMine, the success of the company. And then there's, of course, the issue of non-compliance. Are your users actually using GoldMine as they should, as they are presumably trained to do? And tracking that and helping them to do that is all very important. Difficult to do with just the tools that are built into GoldMine, relatively easy to do if you have some good management tools, which I will demonstrate here. And then, of course, the last question is, what information do you actually need out of GoldMine? You probably know yourself without my going into it. Every business is unique, and yet the information that's in GoldMine has some general purpose that you could be, that you really need to be putting it to so that you understand where you are. So speaking of purposes, these are the purposes really that we have with Mastermind. It's to help you understand your market, your GoldMine data, but also your market through your GoldMine, to actually control GoldMine itself as an application through its data. Oops, sorry. To manage the people who are using GoldMine itself. So if you're monitoring that sales activity, the marketing activity, as people do activities in the real world, phone calls, do appointments, take notes in GoldMine, and so on, you're actually managing the people who are using GoldMine. Sharing information, of course, one of the very important things that happens with GoldMine is that the information sort of gets siloed. It's in GoldMine, but you don't really know how to get it out to the people who need it within the organization as well as outside. And by the way most organizations do that is by exporting into Excel. And I mentioned that as an important factor because Mastermind actually is Excel-based. We're going to see here in a moment. Getting information back and forth from GoldMine into Excel and back the other way is a very powerful thing to be able to do, and again, something that people, ordinary users of GoldMine often find sort of a roadblock, and we're going to open that up here. Having efficient processes in GoldMine is really ultimately what this is about, so that you are able to improve your sales and marketing results. If you've got GoldMine, what you're really trying to do is use it as a tool to accomplish a great deal more than you would otherwise by having that central repository of information, so that, and by having it in one place and being able to access it, you are able to improve the results of the company, and that's really, of course, what this is all about. So how we actually do this, this is the last slide, and then I'm going to go into Mastermind itself. How we actually do this is really a combination of reports, data manipulation, process management, by bringing together Excel functionality with GoldMine. And so I'm going to switch over and show you GoldMine. So what you're seeing on your screen now is a little demo database of GoldMine. There's just a few hundred records here in GoldMine. I've done this for a number of years, and I try to make it to use a very simple GoldMine for this level of understanding Mastermind and how you manage GoldMine. As we do this, let's bear in mind that your own GoldMine database is going to be somewhat different from this, but structured essentially the same. And you will want to see into your GoldMine database in the same ways that I'm about to demonstrate for you, seeing into this GoldMine database. And as we talk about managing your GoldMine, by the way, understand that this GoldMine database is set up to work a certain way. It has fields. The key fields are defined a certain way here. But how you access it is really is more or less universal. Okay, so I'll pause here, a little explanation of how this demo database of GoldMine works. This is a standard, names and addresses at the top of the screen. Record types, including over here, customers, contacts, past clients, prospects, and so on. And I'm showing you this because we're going to be digging into this data, and I want you to see what it will look like in a report context. We've got industry. A lot of you probably also have a field that tells you, what some sort of demographic or firmographic information about your prospects in your database. We've also got a scoring A, B, or C kind of a mechanism here for saying are these A prospects, B prospects, and so on. Who is the sales rep that they're assigned to, and in this case, what campaign did we get this lead from? What marketing campaign did we get them from? We've got some user-defined fields over here to the side as well, and one of the things that I'm going to emphasize here is that your own custom fields in GoldMine really are, in a lot of ways, the key to the information that's in there, and you want to be able to show that information in some useful, summarized way as well as detailed ways. And we're, we're built around showing you or allowing you to be able to get that information. Okay, so I'm going to create a mastermind. I'm sorry, excuse me, I got a little ahead of myself. I'm going to show you actually some existing mastermind reports so that you know what the end user, sort of what the end view of this looks like. I'm going to pull up a market segmentation report. So bearing in mind what I just showed you about this demo database and how it's laid out, let's look at the end result here of some of what you do with Mastermind. Then I'll go back and show you how easy it is to actually create reports, some simple reports that work with that data. So what I've pulled up here is Excel. Mastermind, as I mentioned before, works in Excel. It allows you to have a very smooth interaction back and forth between GoldMine and Excel. And what we're seeing here is a breakdown. In this case, it's sort of pre-set up this way, a breakdown of our leads in our database by the source that we pulled them from. So that's the source field in GoldMine, by the original campaign that we pulled these, where we actually captured these leads. So the campaign was a multimedia kind of campaign in most of these cases. We brought in a certain number of leads through the newspaper, and this is our winter 08 campaign. This is our spring 09 campaign, and so on. How you name your own campaigns is of course up to you. In GoldMine, this was our key 5 field. The source field was a built-in field. What I'm showing you here is a very simple kind of a layout. Obviously, it's just sort of a table that breaks this out. And this workbook is actually just a set of views into this same information broken down different ways. Now, this is interactive. As I opened up this report, it refreshed against the GoldMine database. So literally, as a GoldMine user, to see this report, it was really just a matter of finding it on the GoldMine menu, clicking, and it opening up. And it was current as of this moment. There's none of that, running through a design screen, none of, what you might have experienced in the past of, needing to run some queries or doing some filters or whatever. All the filtering and querying is actually built into the reports here, so it's very easy to get at what you're after with current information in front of you at all times. You don't have to. We didn't have to do a separate export into Excel for this. It just literally came into Excel as I opened up the workbook. And that's true of all Mastermind reports, by the way. They are current just by opening them up. Now, what we can do with this, beyond the just simply looking at them, is where this gets to be more interesting. All the fields that we included in the reports are able to be used as filters. So if I want to take, for example, this same report and just see it for a certain user, without going back and rerunning the report, so to speak, all I'm really doing is just changing a setting within the report here to show this is that same report for Lori, the same report for Nancy, the same report for, let's say, Lori, Nancy, and Tina, if I wanted to do all 3 of them at once. And you can see that you get that information very quickly. Now, that's just changing parameters within a report. That's something you probably have done before in the context of you could even do that inside of built-in GoldMine reports. That level of changing, although this is actually fairly quick and immediately, immediate in front of you. But if we wanted to do to actually change the way the report is laid out, that's another option here, and that's not something that you've ever probably seen before in the context of simple reporting. So if, for example, we wanted to see these not laid out by original campaign going across the top, but instead by account manager, I could actually drag one field out, drag the original campaign field out and put the account manager in across the top. And here, instead of just selecting, one or another account manager or a set of them, by dragging it down here, I actually change the actual report itself. So I'm seeing who are these leads assigned to, in addition to the lead sources that they came from. And that gives me, if you can sort of extrapolate that out, that gives me a great deal of on-the-fly ability to ask my database questions and get good answers. Now we're seeing this all in summary, as we're seeing just a count of this is how many leads there are for each one of these. But that interaction that I just showed you of dragging a field from one place to another goes further in that you can also see the data that's behind any one of these segments. So any one of these numbers actually tells you, okay, Lori's got 18 records that came to us through referral. What's behind those 18? If I double-click on the 18, that actually creates a new sheet inside my workbook that shows me the detail that's behind it. These are the actual 18. And this is, as I mentioned before, very interactive with GoldMine, so I can go even a step further and go right to the GoldMine records themselves and either look for further information about it or actually take some kind of a follow-up action on these. If this is a report of Lori's records and I want to actually go out and make a phone call to these, it would be easy for me to, for example, double-click on Unlimited Technologies here, go right to the GoldMine record. There's the phone number, make my call, follow up with them, send them an email, very easy thing to do. So this report interaction that goes back and forth together with GoldMine is a key to Mastermind. Again, this is, you don't want to think about this just in terms of, well, that's nice for one report and good to be able to have that. Every Mastermind report gives you that sort of interaction back with GoldMine that allows you to see everything from top top-level summary views right down through greater detail at any part of it, and right back to GoldMine itself to take action or to look even further, get all the way down to the most granular detail, which is, of course, your GoldMine record itself. So now summary or reorganizations and summaries within this report, of course, are also easy to do. We might take our account managers and put them into territories, for example. And this is, now your territories may last for a long time over time. My point here is just to say the data that's inside of our report can be pulled together in whatever way makes the most sense to you as well, so that even if the information, even if what we have at the GoldMine level information is individual account managers, but for reporting purposes, we really want to pull together territory reports or regional reports that bring this together for us. This sort of interaction with your GoldMine data actually allows you to do that in a very effective manner that you would really never accomplish just simply by exporting GoldMine data into Excel spreadsheets. We're actually using the pivot table functionality that's built into Excel, but we are enhancing it a good deal with this interaction, this ongoing interaction with GoldMine, and the two of them together are extremely powerful for understanding what you have in GoldMine. I'm going to do one more thing with this, and then I'm going to show you just some other examples of existing reports here, and that is to graphically present this. So I've got again, we started with a market segmentation report that's by the source of our leads. I'm going to add this same information as a chart inside of GoldMine. And what I really want to just point out is it's really fast and easy to do this. We are leveraging Excel technology, make it easy for you to do this with lots of connections to GoldMine in the background. But you can see that with just a little bit of curiosity and digging into your GoldMine data, you actually can build yourself dashboards, or you can build yourself one-off reports. You can do quick analyses. You can know what's actually in GoldMine and what's happening in GoldMine. Okay, so with all of that as sort of an introduction, sort of a brief introduction to the kinds of reports that you can create with Mastermind and the fact that they are very dynamic and you have end-user ability to actually show, control what it is that you display and how it's displayed inside the reports. With that knowledge, I'm going to show you some other examples of kinds of reports that you can do, and then go back to how do we actually generate these from GoldMine at the start. So here's this is just another example of pretty much the same thing, but with our score, our ABC score, showing us our A, B's, and C's prospects, as well as some that were deemed not to be A, B, or C, and we've grouped them here. And what I really want, the reason I included this is I just wanted to illustrate this roll up, roll down. So with the full detail, you can display it all, but inside of your reports, you still have this sort of interaction, user interaction with GoldMine, where you can say, all right, well, actually, I don't want to see the ones that don't actually have a score. Fine, we'll turn those off. And maybe we want to roll up the ones that have been determined to be not qualified, or for some other reason are not interesting. And with that level of user interaction, I can still control what I see on the screen and how this is displayed, and still have that full interaction back with GoldMine again. I'll just show you some other examples here. Oops, I think we've got a little.
Muted.
Okay, hopefully that's going to solve that issue. That's just an example of actually that same sort of geographic segmentation I just built for you manually. Let's see, where do I want to actually get to? Source and budget. So these are all just situations where we've got reports that match up with graphs. And by the way, one of the things I want to point out here is that the graph is actually interactive with the table. So for example, again, we've got one type of value here that we may not want to show in the report. Maybe we'll turn off those ones where we don't know that it's Q1 or Q2 or so on, and that table and that graph interact with each other so that you are, again, always current in your display, always current in your information. And that's it. That's actually all I wanted to show on the market segmentation report. Going to not save that one. But I wanted to illustrate that the way you work with your GoldMine data really can be very connected up. So your reports, your marketing reports might all be on one menu up here and easy to get to. The marketing manager can call them up as they need them. Sales manager or individual salespeople themselves can do the same thing. I'm going to show one more example here of past sales activity. Oftentimes people want to have a GoldMine report that shows them what are our sales reps actually doing. In this case, this default view here is literally how many phone calls did each user make. Now, this of course can be much more refined, made much more refinable anyway, simply by including other fields in the report. So, for example, if your sales reps are making phone calls and you just want to know, this is just a raw, how many times do they dial the phone? That's easy enough to do. Side by side, you can see them added up. There is actually, I think there's a built-in GoldMine report that you can do this level with, but where you can't do is ask any further questions of the GoldMine report, where here you can ask all the questions that you can imagine. Like, for example, well, it's fine how many times they dial the phone, but what I really want to know is how many times did they actually talk to somebody? Well, with result codes, you can actually narrow down. Assuming that they are entering, that you've trained them that when they make a phone call, they actually do indicate, did I talk to them or did I not, by the result code that's in GoldMine. If you need some training, by the way, on how to use GoldMine better in order to yield results like this, absolutely talk to us. We can help you, all the way back to helping you identify how you should be using GoldMine so that you can actually get the results you need. In this case, we've got in our database several different flavors of I talked to them. So I completed my mission. I'm in process and talking with them. I'm done with whatever it is. So you can have various result codes, some of which mean I talked to somebody, others which mean, well, I just left a message or so on. Well, let's ignore the ones where we left the message, and so on. You can have that kind of control. Now, again, that's doing filtering at the top. You remember I also talked about that you can drag fields in and display that information as well. So you have that. You can really do this in whatever way makes sense in the moment. I wanted to show this one other report here, and then I'm going to go back and show you how you can actually initially address your GoldMine data to create these reports, because I want you to know how simple it is to get to this. This is an example of what I call a call report. We're often asked, well, can you do a simple report out of GoldMine that a sales manager can look at that shows who was called, where are the notes from them, so I'm including the notes here, where are the notes from those calls, and what other information do you want to know? The date of the next scheduled call, who is it assigned to? All that information is easily available here, and you can display it as I've done here. In this case, we're showing an alphabetical list of everybody who was called in April of 2013, and we might choose, well, just the ones that were called by Lori, or just the ones that were called by Nancy. And if you can imagine this as a sales manager's tool, a sales manager should be able to see what's been done in GoldMine. Oh, Nancy didn't take any notes. Well, we better talk to Nancy about that and make sure that those notes get filled in, or compare Nancy and Lori to each other. I'm going to take this report and actually make it make the columns be suitably wide and so on. So this, as a management report, is really kind of a crucial thing. And again, there's the interaction back with GoldMine. So I can drill back and actually look at the GoldMine record very easily right from here, double-click and go right to the GoldMine record, or look at a different user, a different sales rep, or a different time period. It's all very easy to just switch from one to the other without having to go back and rerun reports. Okay, so I wanted to show that detail. I will, toward the end, talk also about data management capabilities, actually updating GoldMine from in Excel. But to start with, before I do that, I wanted to show you what it takes to actually get to these reports from Mastermind, because everybody wants to know, how can I actually get to my GoldMine data in some kind of a user-friendly way? Do I have to hire a consultant to write reports for me? The answer is, if they're complicated reports, you may want to hire us or some consultant who's using Mastermind to do it more efficiently than you might be able to do initially. But what I really want you to see is that for simple reporting, you yourself can do this, or your office manager can do it, or your sales secretary can do it. Or if you're a little bit more of an active kind of a sales manager who really likes to dig into your data so that you understand things better, you can do this yourself. And because it's so efficient, you will save yourself many, many hours over the struggling that you would normally do with a report writing tool that produces static reports, that doesn't have the integration back with GoldMine and so on. So here's what it takes. I'm going to actually create a new report from scratch. I'll point out there are templates in here to do all the things that I'm about to do, or many of the things I'm about to do, even more efficiently, because a template just jumps right to, let's say, a sales report like we looked at before. But in this case, I'm actually going to show you what does it take to create a report that just kind of initially turns on the lights of what's in GoldMine. What are the records we have? How do they break out by record type? Maybe by some of these other things, priority, sales stage, last year, year-to-date sales, and so on. By the way, if you don't have sales information, past sales information in your GoldMine, you actually can use your Mastermind tools to get that information into GoldMine from your accounting system or from some outside place. I'm just going to sort of hint at that right now. If you want to know more about it, let us know. But these tools will allow you to have GoldMine interact better with other products and actually report across GoldMine and, let's say, your accounting system or QuoteWorks or other information. We can open all of that up for you. Okay, but just in terms of turning on the lights, in terms of understanding what do we have in the database, I'm going to do a quick report that just with the default setting here in Mastermind. You launch the Create dialog to create a new Mastermind report. By default, it's going to show you information at the main contact level, so that's what's at the top of the screen. We have a set of fields that are selected that are in the main contacts: contact name, the company, the state, the source of the lead, the 5 key fields, these key fields that are here, labeled as you see, just the way the end user sees them, so you don't really need even to know what the underlying GoldMine field names are. If you've ever done GoldMine reporting, you know that it's not always easy to remember the hundreds or even thousands of custom field names that you have underneath these labels. By the way, in Mastermind, you can actually just switch back and forth to see. This is the GoldMine underlying field name here. This is the label as the end user sees it. And you really just check on whatever fields you want to include in your report. So if we're going to be looking at our our database, and we want to know, first off, what do we have in there, and then how complete are the records. So how complete? Well, I want to know who's got email addresses, so I'll include email addresses with it. I want to know, who's got a phone number, so let's include the phone number in there, and so on. All the rest of the fields that are at the contact level in GoldMine are available in this list. The ones that are labeled C1 are your built-in, name, address kinds of fields. The ones that are labeled C2, you get into your user-defined fields there, and everything that you need, everything that's in there at the contact level will be present in this list, so you literally just have to check it on to include it. I'm going to grab also a couple of other fields here just for this demonstration. I'll get the priority field that we've got at the top there. I do want to get my year-to-date sales. This is last year's sales. Here's my year-to-date sales there. If they're not easily findable here, easy enough to sort them alphabetically so that you can choose them. So now all these fields that I haven't checked on yet are alphabetical. The ones I have checked on are brought up into the front of the list so I can see what I've got. And if I forget, by the way, to pull in a field that I need later on, that's fine. From Excel, there's actually a way to go in the Mastermind menu, Mastermind toolbar, and just hit a button and add whatever field I forgot to include in my report. So it's actually, as I have emphasized before, keeps that connection back with GoldMine. So I'm going to do main contact analysis. That's going to be the name of the report that I create here, and that's basically it. All the work that I needed to do to get my GoldMine information into Excel is just a matter of choosing which area in GoldMine it's going to come from, checking the fields that I want to include, naming my report, and then hitting the Finish button. It really is that simple. There are, of course, greater depths to that if you want to get into it, but that's essentially all there is to it. And now it has created this report in Excel. It's in the background right now. I'm going to hit the OK button, and we're going to switch over to the Excel environment so you will actually see the results of the report that we created. It starts out as a very simple, now in this case, I've got my settings set so that you don't see the other all the fields that I included here, but they're all in a list over here on the right, and I can just drag them in to display what I want to show of the data that I've pulled in here. Now I'm going to start with a sort of a simple summary, because what I want to know is, my question was, what do I have in GoldMine? Well, I've got 350 records in this database. By the way, if you'd had 35,000 or 350,000, doing this query at the start would have taken maybe 2 or 3 seconds more, but not really significantly more time. It's actually very easy to get that information in and see what you have. So if you have us do some work with you in Mastermind, which I will offer you here at the end of the session, we will install Mastermind. We'll run a report very similar to this one, and you will immediately see, for example, how do your leads in your database break out by record type. Now, to start with, this is everything in the whole database. We're going to filter it. We're going to choose the parts that we display. But what I want to start with is, after going after this sort of turning on the lights theme, what I want to start with is just seeing what do we have. So, and what you see is here, we've got this record type field, and I think I pointed this out before in GoldMine, which I'm going to switch back to now just so we indicate this is the field that we're talking about here. You probably have a contact type field, or yours may be labeled differently, but its purpose is pretty much the same, to provide a kind of a large scale breakdown of the records that are in your database. What's the purpose of them? Are they contacts, prospects, customers? Customers, employees, prospects. These are the valid values that should be allowed in the database. But as you probably saw in the actual Excel, that the list that's here and that list that's over there is a little bit different because things have been imported. People have made mistakes. They put in the word client instead of the word customer when they should have done it. Probably didn't have done it right. Now, in GoldMine, it's possible to normalize this information using the tools that are built into GoldMine, but you don't really know to do it unless you actually see what you've got. And Mastermind actually allows you to see it very easily, but also to work with the data in some sort of an effective way. So in this case, we've got 37 of them that do actually have the proper word in there, customer. We've got 2 of them that have got a misspelling of the word customer, 6 of them where they put in the word client, this one where they misspelled client. You can sort of see where that goes. In your own database, if you've got 35,000 records in here, this list is going to be a much longer list, and making sense of it is going to be very hard for you to do unless you've got some good tools like I'm about to show you. So let's do this. Let's take all these ones that really belong together, and I'm just highlighting them. They're near each other right now. I could actually control-click on multiple ones if they weren't actually next to each other, get them all into a group. My point here is to display these in a grouped fashion that allows me to say all of these are customers, regardless of what it actually says in the database. All of those are customers. And these ones that say prospect, suspect, misspelling of suspect, I'm going to group those as well, call all of them prospects. All of this is what I'm aiming to do here is boil this down to a view of my database that makes more sense in the context of what I'm doing. So now I've grouped together ones that belong together. I'm going to take out that level of detail just so that I can now get this down and say, well, all right, I'm really interested in this as a leads database, so I'm going to take out the ones that are vendors, the ones that are employees. I probably should look at these ones that actually have no value in there, so I'm going to leave those in there. So I'm just going to turn off the vendors and employees. And what I'm really aiming to do is boil this down to, in my database, what is actually valid, and from there, of course, be able to do something with that. So in a much simplified view of my GoldMine database, now I recognize, even though I've got 350 total records in my database, I've really got, I think I'm going to want to turn off the ones that are unqualified as well. I've really got 47 that are customers, 12 that are past customers, and 195 that are prospects. Now I could go forward and actually use this. In fact, I'll demonstrate that. I'll clone this sheet. So I've got this worksheet as my sort of starting point that I can come back to, and I can focus in on, in this case, just the, let's say, the prospects. I'll choose prospects as the purpose of this next report, and I'll display, for example, well, here's the company names and the contacts that go with those, and let's say what industry they're in. Do we have a phone number for them? Don't know. Let's find out if we got. Let's look at the ones. Let's focus in on the ones for which we don't have a phone number. Okay, there's some that need to be dealt with. We can drill right through back to GoldMine and actually get phone numbers. Or we can show the ones that do have a phone number and actually make our phone calls from there. Or we can, filter this a million possible different ways. Do the same thing with email addresses that we're doing with phone numbers. You kind of can get that not only can I identify parts of my database, but I can actually easily make lists. This is a very, this would be a prospect list that I might put other parameters on and then go and print out, so that here's what it's going to look like when I print it out on paper and hand it off to somebody, or export it into another file that I'm going to give to somebody outside the organization to make phone calls or to send mail to, or whatever it is. Phone, all the contact level information is here, so it's easy to have your phone lists, your email lists, your address lists, and so on, to find out where the gaps are, get them filled in, and actually, deal with the data. Now, here's something. I'll just point out this as a task, because people often ask us about this kind of thing. Well, maybe what I want to deal with here is I'm going to focus in on the ones that have no email address. Everybody else has an email address. This set that I'm selecting right now has no email address. It's I can look at the list like this, so I can, just knowing that these are prospects with no email address. Maybe this is leads that we got from a trade show that we need to do some follow-up with. I could print this out and go and have somebody get the email addresses, or as an even better thing, let's do this. I'll go back to my original here and look at this just as a summary sheet. So these are my ones that I have no email address for, that are prospects. Drill down on that number, so that, again, I see the detail that's underneath it. These are all the techniques. I showed you these techniques before in the context of simple reports, and it doesn't take you an hour really, or it takes you about an hour to learn to use these techniques, but it's not like you need to learn a whole lot of new stuff. You really just need to figure out, how do I want to apply this capability to my actual GoldMine data. So these are all ones that have no email address. Maybe what we do is take this, give it to a secretary or a salesperson, say, I want you to actually go in and fill in the email addresses for all these on the sheet, and if they do that, you actually can transfer that information right from here into GoldMine. That's right. Don't actually have to be in the GoldMine record to add the information on the GoldMine side. There are actually tools built into Mastermind here where you can fill in information or change information that you find inside GoldMine across a number of different records. In this case, it's filling in missing email addresses, but it might be changing their scores from A's to B's and B's to C's, or however you want to change those, or changing the assigned sales rep name. The sales rep field in GoldMine indicates who's responsible for making these calls. Well, maybe we actually want to take all these for sales reps that are no longer with us, maybe even take the sheet here and sort it by sales rep, take all of Lori's, and we'll reassign those to Nancy H. Now, all I did was change it on the Excel spreadsheet here, and I'll just point out very quickly that from that information, you could push that sales rep name. Let's go to sales rep here. Oh, I've got my labels a little bit misaligned here. Oh, okay, so I see what I did. I got my labels misaligned, but basically I can choose the key 4 field that this is going to be transferred into, hit the OK button, and that would immediately update all those records. In fact, I think I'll choose the key 4. There it is, account manager. I had it labeled wrong. So make this change. Now this is a mass change across, what is this, 14 different records. Right here it tells us 14 rows. So I can do this actually as a test first. And in my report here, see this is what I would be doing, changing this original value to this updated value for those ones that I isolated that needed to be changed. And actually, I'll go ahead and finalize these changes into GoldMine here, just to show you that it's very quick and easy. So I've updated 14 records. So if I double-click here on Synthesis Holdings, it'll pop that record in GoldMine. We'll see that the current sales rep now says Nancy H, that I just changed it to. And it even has an undo feature. So if I make changes in GoldMine and really don't want those changes to stick, either I make a mistake or I only wanted to temporarily change something, now when I go back to that record, you see that that's reverted back to Lori. Imagine having that kind of control over your GoldMine data. And I'm talking about everything that's in there, not just the contact level, but everything that's in history, everything that's in pending, all of your scheduled activities, some of which are probably past due and need to be cleared out of there, some of which are assigned to people who are no longer in the company and maybe need to be assigned, the users updated to somebody who is there, who will do the follow-up. Maybe the dates on them need to be manipulated so that you're actually scheduling activities in GoldMine in a really sensible kind of way, so that your reports tell you, all right, we've got rolling sales opportunities that our sales reps are working on and rolling forward and working with them, but the ones that have fallen by the wayside, we can find those too and get them back into the process and make sure that they're getting the emails, they're getting the follow-ups that are necessary to keep those leads moving forward towards a sale. All of the information that's in GoldMine, I've mentioned pending and history, but it's if you use opportunities, if you use cases, if you use anything that you can see in GoldMine, you would be able to do all that same activity using Mastermind. So I'm going to come back here and summarize a little bit, but I want to leave enough time for you to do questions if necessary. So post your questions inside of the GoldMine or the GoToWebinar dialog there if you've got them. But if there's things that I have covered or covered only not as deeply as you might like to know more, feel free to ask those questions. Or if there are just things that you found confusing, please go ahead and ask about that. We'll either cover it right now or at the end. But I will first summarize a little bit. So let me go back to basically what I want to do is I've talked about a lot of techniques for going into the GoldMine database and sort of bringing that information up into Excel, but I want to sort of emphasize what are you actually going to get by using these tools with GoldMine. You will in effect be able to do the business activity that you got GoldMine for much more efficiently by having accurate, complete data, but also by being able to use that data to turn it into information that drives your business better. and more specifically in the sales area, being able to monitor and actually have a methodical sales approach that you can track from a management standpoint and actually drive in the way that it needs to be. From a marketing perspective, also not just in terms of knowing what you have, but also being able to manipulate your GoldMine data, to get it out into Excel, to move it up to Constant Contact or other services that you use in relation to GoldMine. All of that workflow that currently requires building filters that may or may not read from the right information in GoldMine because your GoldMine data is messed up. All the things that you're currently doing to try to make marketing happen out of GoldMine can be very labor intensive unless you get your GoldMine data cleaned up and organized better, and then B, actually have tools to extract it and segment the database and understand the parts of it so that you can do much more sophisticated it's not even sophisticated. You can do more marketing that isn't just simply pick a list based on a guess about what's in GoldMine and then send out one message to everybody. You actually can be more discriminating about how your messages get out there and which messages go to which kinds of prospects and customers. And I'm just going to say, generally, if your GoldMine is not in good shape, that means there's wasted time in every possible way with GoldMine. I won't go into that in too much more depth, except to just say that's something that you're probably intuitively aware of. And then ultimately, it's about if GoldMine is accurate and it's complete because you are monitoring the people who are working there, and you've got everybody humming along and doing what they are supposed to do with GoldMine, which is to drive the business along certain paths by doing the prescribed work, then what you have in GoldMine is a database that tells you about your business, so you can make better decisions. You have less doubt or just anecdotal evidence about what's out there. You actually can know more than just simply what just for example, the sales reps tell you, I'm having some difficulty selling because of XYZ. That's good anecdotal information, but it's not quite the same thing as being able to statistically look at, here's all the leads that were given over a certain period of time and what happened with them. I want to make a that's the result of actually being able to get into your GoldMine, which is really the kind of the main thing. What we are in the business of here is erasing GoldMine frustration or GoldMine related frustration. So 5 reasons to try Mastermind right now before the end of the year is what I'm talking about. Inefficiency and bad data in your GoldMine database are costing you something every day. It may not be you personally, but it's costing the organization in terms of sales not made, in terms of leads invested in that ultimately got lost, or that are kind of not being followed up on as you would wish that they were. All the different ways that people do things manually that cost time and money don't need to be still pursued that way. And so basically the argument here is take an hour now to look at Mastermind. We can download Mastermind on your side and look at your GoldMine data together with you, and you will very quickly see, I'm talking about within a very short space of time, what you can or can't do in terms of addressing what you have in GoldMine. This is, of course, the end of the year. That means, presumably you are looking at Mastermind in part because you may have some budget coming up in the beginning of the year and you want to implement implement this ability to actually use your GoldMine better, but also just beyond that, just think in terms of, hey, we've got all this information inside of GoldMine that should be helping me to budget better, to understand my priorities as far as sales lead distribution. Past sales information is, by the way, if it's in GoldMine, you should be able to do things like do analyses of actual, dollar sales results, which you probably need for your end of year reporting and your beginning of year reporting when you start coming out in January. Now is a great time to actually change the way you're doing things for the better, so that come January 1st, you're already, you've already got your understandings of how you're going to work with your GoldMine data better to accomplish what you need to do. And come to think of it now, this is only going to have 4 reasons to try this now. But this is actually the last one here is what I want to get to here finally, which is the webinar offer. When we sent out the invitation for this webinar, we actually said we would choose a winner from our attendees who would get a free 1-hour session with us online going into your GoldMine data. We actually decided, sort of at the last minute, why don't we just make this free for everybody who's here if they schedule it by December 3rd, which is 1 week from today, or sorry, yes, it's actually 1 week from tomorrow. So by December 3rd, contact us and schedule an appointment for sometime between now and December 12th, and we will get online with you, put Mastermind on your system, or we can do this in a demo environment first if you're less comfortable with that, and just give you the opportunity to see how it works. But what we really wanted to offer you here was something beyond what we've normally done with demos of our software, which is a content analysis of your own GoldMine data. That is, we'll get in with you and actually look at your lead source distribution, look at your completed activity or your lead follow-up activity by sales reps, if you want to look at it that way. If you include scheduled sales in your GoldMine or forecast sales in your GoldMine data, we can do a sales forecast with you, or go over the past year's completed sales, and not just as a list of here's all the people who bought, but actually an analysis of in a summary fashion of what actually happened. And where do we go going forward from this? So what we're offering is a 1-hour session analyzing your GoldMine content with you, turning on the lights in your GoldMine, as I said, so that you actually can see that. We'll offer you to do that for free. All you need to do is contact Carnegie. You can do that by sending an email to sales@mastermind.net. You can do the phone call right there to the toll-free number right there, extension 214, and schedule that 1-hour session. We're very happy to do that. If you're not in the United States, we do have Thanksgiving coming up on Thursday this week, Thursday and Friday, so our office will be closed. We won't be available then. But outside of this Thursday and Friday, please go ahead and schedule that time to take a better look at your GoldMine. So with that, I'm going to put up my final slide here, which is contact information for myself. If any questions have come up in GoToMeeting, I will go ahead and handle those.
Do you have a question?
I do have a question. Go ahead, Carnegie.
Me too. Can Mastermind be linked to Outlook for email generation?
Can it be linked to Outlook for email generation? Not quite sure I understand the question. You can, because GoldMine itself can be linked with Outlook, especially if you have the current version, a relatively current version of GoldMine. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the question is there, because you can use Mastermind certainly for selecting, for making. I didn't talk about this when I was doing this, but you can use it to make GoldMine groups. GoldMine groups, if you're not familiar with them, are kind of like filters, except that they are static, and you can take that list, that same list that I showed you in Excel, that for updating purposes, you could also hit a different button and instead make that into a GoldMine target group that you then send an email out to, either by sending it out through GoldMine and then having that show up in Outlook. If you want to actually use Outlook itself as the sending mechanism, actually that same thing will work for you as well. You can use your Mastermind group, your GoldMine group, and the GoldMine to Outlook integration to actually have those emails go out from Outlook. Our suggestion usually really is to actually do it the other way around. Have GoldMine do the sending and have them all show up in context in your Outlook. But you can do it either way. I hope that answers the question. If it didn't, feel free to talk with one of us and ask your follow-up questions. Anything else there, Carnegie?
That was it, Rob.
That was it? Okay. So very good. We've just reached the 1 hour mark here anyway. So thank you all very much for taking the time to take a look at Mastermind. If you're watching this as a recording, please, hopefully you will have watched it before the deadline on the free session. Otherwise, you can, after that date, after December 12th, you can actually, we do it. It's a $180 value there. That's what we charge to get online with you and do a good, detailed tour of your GoldMine data. So if you're watching this recording after that date, please contact us anyway, and we'll see what we can do for you there. Otherwise, thank you all very much for your time this afternoon, and appreciate the opportunity to show you Mastermind and GoldMine management.